The name of the podcast is Trust the Process, and the tables have turned. You, Dalty, are now in the hot seat. You're the interviewee.
Yes, sir.
To start things off, I heard you were selling NPI Productions.
Yes, sir. I heard you're the buyer.
Yeah, and we'll talk stakes and shares, but I think 10% for you is fair.
That's absolutely fair, bro.
What would it take for you to sell what you have built?
I don't know if it would be justifiable, right? Just because, like, it's my whole life, right? So when I look at what it would take to actually just say I'm good for life, it'd be a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, but I live pretty reasonably. I don't do anything too crazy. So I feel like if I could like get a number that would let me know I could live the rest of my life and take care of my kids, I would take it. Just 'cause-
Really? That's way different than a few years ago.
Well, let me put it this way. Not filmmaking and telling stories, but like the client part. But letting go of the brand would be a big deal for me. So I don't know. I don't think it would ever happen just because it would have to be such a sickening opportunity. I couldn't afford to say no. Someone would have to offer me like $10 million, something crazy.
So, if you guys don't have the backstory, we already did an episode where we went into a lot of how we met, how we grew. That is a very long episode. You can check it out and get all caught up to speed onto where we are now. But if you are just joining us, this is a video production company owner. This is someone who brings in contractors, and they have built a company to sustain their life, which is pretty difficult to do. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by thinking of, I can create my own self-sustaining job.
Yeah, for sure.
And it has taken quite a while.
Yeah,
right?
and we talked about that. You know, a decade is an interesting thing because I don't look at it like that. But looking at it for what it is, how many years that really is, how many places we went, how hard we worked to get here. If I knew what it took to get to where we are before I started, I would have been a lot more intimidated than I was. And I say that a lot, and I'm not trying to like shy anybody away from it. But if I knew how many just blind months of not knowing, huge issues that weren't my fault that really hurt and put me down and set me back, if I knew what that was, I might have been scared of it. But that's why tunnel vision's good. You know, focus on what you've got going. And I feel like if you don't come from a source of some kind of passion, it's hard to go from ground zero and build.
And I know you didn't do it by yourself. Community is a huge part of any business. So for this episode, I asked a bunch of the people in my community, from my YouTube channel, from my filmmaker meetup, Instagram group chats. I'm meeting with a guy who has created his own business, which has paid for a house, a nice standard of living to provide for a family through video production. What are things that you want to have answered by this type of person? Because it's so hard to get authentic answers from people.
Yeah.
So throughout this podcast, if you see me looking at my phone, I'm not on Instagram, I'm looking at questions. But before we get there...
Which is so cool, by the way. This was David's idea, and I love this because this podcast is great. But I saw one recently that made me rethink my podcast. This is about educating people, giving people what they want. You brought so much information and experience to the table. When you hit me up and like, yo, I want to run it back, but I want to flip the script. I've got this idea. You had me at, I've got an idea. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you came up with this.
And I like that it's very easy to recognize when idea people meet idea people.
No doubt.
Because you're like, when you see the light bulb in someone else turn on, you're like, okay, well, what was it? Because I'm always looking for the light bulb for me. So I have my own questions that I want to get to, and we're kind of just going to go right into it. Like I said, if you want to see the context, the backstory of all this, it's in that previous episode. And you've released a bunch of episodes since then.
Yeah, we're doing good now.
With other entrepreneurs, yeah. So let's go right into it. I feel like this is going to tap into you. So what is something that you want to do in the future that you are not working on at all right now?
Something that I want to do in the future.
An idea.
Can it be an idea that I have that's still just an idea in my head?
Mhm.
Okay. So for years, I don't want to say attempted, but dabbled in experimental series and projects that are kind of like my brainchild. I've got a new one, and I think it's the grown up version of my, you know, original YouTube series, which was like the Florida Adventure series, was the first one. And then I went and did Stoke. And then I went and did Vacations. And not a lot of them like completed, but I'm never mad at that. I was like kind of feeling it out. So in recent years, I've asked myself, what do I want? And I want to do more of that. When I look back and like show people my videos, those are the first ones I pull up. Those are the ones I'm the most passionate about. And I really do think those ones led into the money part of the business on accident. People are like, oh, like this could work for marketing. These guys are onto something. This is creative. So, yeah, I've got a new series that's focused on invasive species specifically. So, if I were to condense it, I would love to host more things personally. I would love to entertain, work with wildlife, and just show people something, where to go, what to do, how not to get eaten by the thing, whatever. But I love nature, and this series is a Florida-based series about invasive species, how we're forced to be faced with them, what we're doing about it, and how these different areas and professionals are dealing with it and mitigating it.
I like it because I'm a Florida boy myself, but I always struggle with juggling ideas because they all take a lot of effort. And you said you're not working on this one yet. How much of a shift would it take to give this a full effort?
I'm at a point where I'm realizing there is such thing as too many ideas, and I denied that for years. I was like, no, you're just lazy. And while that may have some truth to it for some people, maybe not being lazy, but just not prioritizing correctly, there is such thing as you can only do so much. Now that I have a child, now that the business is growing, I'm like, oh shit, I can't do it all. So, podcast was the first priority. We're officially up and running, stoked. I have another project called my City Highlight Series, which is a blend of work for sure, because it is a tourism driven series that we're gonna run as a business, but I'm the host. It's fun. It's brought to you by us with that NPI style. It's activated. The first city is Cocoa Beach. It's almost done. And so the rule was we can't touch the city series until the podcast is up and running. And then we can't even think about the invasive species series until the first couple cities are done. So this summer, the goal was to get the podcast running, to get at least one, hopefully 2 or 3 cities under our belt, and begin filming the invasive Florida series.
So the interesting thing with that is you have to create structure for yourself. You're not an employee. You don't answer to people above you. So you have free reign, but it's really hard to do anything if you don't give yourself structure. So in this case, it was podcast first, get it out of the way, and now we can start doing something else.
Yeah. I realized I was like trying to cook too much stuff at once, and like things were getting done, but they were getting burnt, and then you had to get it back, and it wasn't. And so I was like, I've got to focus. Like I have to put one thing on the plate. And I even took it a step further. Not everybody has this, but I do have a small inner team, several people that are with me here in the office every day. I said, let's take at least 1 or 2 days a week where we just have a 2 to 3 hour conversation about these projects. Those 4 weeks, like a month worth of those meetings, solved and set us up for success. And I was like, almost like, why did I wait so long? But yeah, that strategic effort. Like, let's all get together for just a couple hours a week and talk how we're going to do this. And now it's happening.
Okay, that leads me into the next question, and you can take this either way. How did you decide, or when will you decide to scale your business?
So because I already did decide, was how do I continue to make the same amount of money that I'm making, but be present less?
Okay.
That was the question. How do I make the exact same amount of money or more, but be present less, take less edits, or at least transition my efforts to overview growth things, not sitting there chopping social stuff. So it took a ton of time, and it was a combination of like taking risky investment in a sense of like instead of just saying, I've got this much money, here's a percentage of it, I was taking money that I just had and I was investing forward to get people on projects early or to set myself up to not be at stuff that maybe the budget wasn't there quite yet, but it was going to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was like a pivotal decision that I'm willing to sacrifice something. And dude, I started doing it like a month ago. I was like, oh, I should do that edit. If I do that, I could make this much and that guy's going to want that much. That is very dangerous thinking for scaling, because the second you go back to that, you goose step yourself back to that like mid-range guy that is maximized by a 40-hour week. So I did the opposite. Like I stopped myself. It was like, nope, delegate it. And the concept is like, yes, I'm burning more money quicker, but I'm doing bigger things to create more money in a bigger, you know what I mean? So this city highlight series, it is going to be, and it's proving to be, we haven't even fully started, one of the most lucrative on both ends for us and for the participating businesses. It's going to be one of the biggest things we've ever done. It's going to have a huge track mark on social media. It's going to give us a ton of work. We're going to have to hire so many people to help us put it together. And so doing it, I had to pay someone to make my pitch deck out of my pocket.
Ooh.
And I never made one. And so I know a girl, shout out to Lenny. She does amazing work. And I was like, I'm going to pay her upfront because I'm going to make the money. I would never make a pitch deck traditionally. So just deciding that it's going to take investment, which is scary because it's kind of the opposite of what I'm thinking, right? More money, spend more. And so, yeah, man, I've seen just the little bit of return, and now I'm just charging. But it's really hard prioritizing stuff. And I'm not going to lie, a couple things had to get moved as far as like that. Maybe we can do that later. But these three things are the most important.
I've heard if you want to scale, work on the business, not in the business.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to pull yourself out, get out of the detail work, and be like, where do I steer this ship? I have a buddy who wants to buy a house, and his financial advisor said, you totally can. We're looking at your numbers. You can do it. As your financial advisor, I am advising you to take that money and put it in your business. Where you are at right now, the life of your company, where you physically are, inject everything into the company right now because it'll pay off way more later.
Yeah.
He ended up buying a house and he's very stoked on it. And, you know, everybody has a different path. And so that's the one that he's going with, but he's doing great anyways.
And you have to take that risk. And I thought about something crazy the other day. 2020, I bought my truck that I drive now in February of 2020. So like a month before COVID and the world shut down, right? Then in June, I bought my house. So it was very strategic because the market was down. And I got my house at like 2.3% fixed for 30 years. That's insane.
Yeah, that is.
And we got lucky, timing, whatever, but we capitalized. I could have been like, the world's shutting down, no, turtle mode, don't spend any money. I was in other ways, we weren't going out and spending lots of money and stuff, but that was an investment. And to this dude, like, not just because it's our home, but that was one of the smartest things we could have ever done as far as where to put our money.
And you can be smart like that, but if you didn't do the previous years of saving for that money at that time,
we wouldn't have been prepared.
You can't do it.
Yeah, so success is when preparation meets opportunity, and it all comes together. So, like you said, anybody can look at 2020 and be like, "Yeah, man, I really blew it. I should have bought a house then." It's like, well, did you have the money? Did you have the business acumen? Did you have the the ability to line that up and pull it off? And again, luck plays a role in it. And so the series of events lined up, and we executed, and we got it. And so what looked really scary ended up being a really not just amazing year for us, because it reset my creativity. It got me out of that daily grind because I was forcibly removed from the daily shoots, the weekly shoots, the going on the trips. That changed for about a year. And so it really brought me home to my wife. We worked on our relationship, our home, literally home improvement. I started watching TikTok videos and making these cool probe lens videos, and I came up with new packages. So yeah, man, it ended up being a good year, and a lot of risk paid off.
Okay, so the truck brings me to the next question. What is your ideal production vehicle, or do you already have it?
Dude, I hate to say it, but I think I have it. The Dodge Ram Laramie. I love it. I've got the 2020 version or maybe 2021. No, I got it in 2020. So it is an incredible truck. Four door. I love the retractable steps. It's got, we work in the heat. So a lot of our life is driving, working in the heat, and just surviving between the shoots. So we can auto start the truck, get the AC running, tap a button while our hands are loaded with gear, drop the tailgate, put stuff in, and just like inside of it, AC seats and all the stuff. Again, like we are working 15-hour days, driving to the next place, sleeping in a shitty hotel, doing it again. So as comfortable as we can be in the vehicle, the happier we are as a crew. And then as far as efficiency goes, we've got 2 wall outlets, like DC laptop outlets in the car. We're charging drones, we're charging laptops, opposed to stopping at a Starbucks or someone can charge. So yeah, man, it was a scary risk. But when I went from a 2-door Chevy Cobalt with manual locks and windows and a key broken off in the driver door to a Jeep Grand Cherokee 4-door with I was like my first brand new car. I was like, whoa. I like felt so proud in that vehicle because it was the first one that was truly mine. My family helped me with my first cars, but that was the first vehicle that was mine. And just being able to click a damn button and not have to like climb over my, passenger seat like a goof. And you remember those electric skateboards I used to ride? They were huge. Heavy. I'd stack them dirty tires in my backseat of my Cobalt. Seat would barely shut, and I rode that thing till the damn brakes fell off. And then that Jeep, I could have upgraded from the Jeep earlier, but I would say as much as I do buy some nice stuff, it's intentional and I wait. So like the truck that I bought in 2020, I could have afforded that in 2019, but I didn't want to do it yet. And that truck that I had bought in 2018, again, same thing. And so I try to be really patient. And if I can afford something, I want to wait like a year. You know what I mean?
That trigger pull is so hard because no one tells you it's the right time or the wrong time. It's all just you looking at circumstances and being like, I think this is the right time. But it taps into your personality versus my personality. Some people are trigger happy. Some people are like, I need more time to see if this is the correct thing and I feel better. But that goes through the entire career. If you're picking up more cameras, okay, it's going to be a couple more grand or tens of thousands. If I'm getting a new truck, if I'm getting a house, and it's tough because you're like, I think this is good.
Yeah.
But I have no clue.
No, and it is scary. But dude, man, the thing I keep coming back to is like, I hate to be that guy, but like my kid, like, she's 10 months now. Her first birthday's coming up in a couple months. And so you just look at things, right? Just look at the full picture. None of this shit matters. And like, until I can't exist, I'm going to come up with ways to make money. I've done it over and over and over. And mark my words, my city series is going to be a pivotal transition in what my company does and how it does it. That was just an idea. That was just one idea that we came up with as a group. So I'm like, man, I'm going to do the best I can, but I think you can't pour from an empty cup. The entrepreneurial life is gnarly. The just individual freelancer life is gnarly. And so I think to an extent, you've got to keep yourself fired up. You got to stay hopeful. You can't let this world and all the just constantly worrying about money beat the shit out of you, because you'll feel defeated and it'll take your creativity down. It'll take your drive down. And you're not going to call people with that ambition because you're already anticipating it's not going to work. So you got to believe in you. Do the right thing. And then after that, just go for it, man. Because early Dalton was blind to the world as far as how hard it was. And I think that was part of my success. So stoked, so eager. And people loved that about us, you know?
Yeah, I do these walk and talk videos now on my YouTube channel where I just brain dump, and kind of like what we're doing here, just authentic thoughts. And one of them was I was talking about dealing with exactly what you're saying. If a client says no, we're not going to do it, or any type of like tough freelancer business owner stuff, it really does not phase me if a client passes. If they say no, you're to this or you're to that, that's fine. Like, I wasn't resting my whole income on this client or this job, and it gives you this nice little bit of freedom and detachment, because you're like, well, I okay, that didn't work. Now I want to go to the next idea or to the next potential client or whatever. And it didn't really phase me early on because I was so used to that, but it really does not affect me now if a client says no. And I'm sure you've heard your fair shares of either too expensive or not the right time for our marketing, or you're not convincing enough. Like, how do you deal with that over so many years of trying to sell your services?
Well, we've talked about this in our podcast. You and I could possibly not be any more different.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to everything. But that's why I think our friendship is extra valuable, because we have so much to learn from each other being different. Me and my wife are so different, and it's really good for us. You had that kind of like separation early. I'm like just now figuring it out. Like, I struggle with people saying no. And I think it's less about money and more about that, like, not why me, but like, what's wrong? What should I be doing better? Why aren't I enough? Kind of thing, which everyone can relate to. But then there's the money part, right? Where I'm just a hungry, hungry person. But what I've realized is like, it's okay to not pick stuff, because like if you go to a store and there's 10 options, you're not going to like mentally hate the other 9. You're just going to pick the one that suits you, right? So, and who's to say you might not buy the other brand next time? So being honest with yourself and not so emotional, that helped me to realize that these people weren't targeting me or whatever. And then a lot of times that I worried, it was in vain. So, many times Visit Florida would, go a year or two not calling us for work. And like, right now they haven't called us in a while, and we're all like, oh, I wonder why. It's probably nothing. It's probably that they're working on stuff. And I'm really good at making up stories about what it is, and it's never right. And so I feel like you have to be honest with yourself. If there is some truth in there, then you need to focus on that for the betterment of your business. But a lot of times you can't control, a third party, and never take a no unless it's a no. Because many times I have gotten people that are like, yeah, I'm interested. Or you send something and you just don't hear back, and you take that as a no. That might have ended up in some front desk person's email, and they're just like, boom, delete. So many times I've convinced myself that it's a no and they don't like me. I call again, like muster the energy. I'm like, yeah, this is Dalton MPI. And then they're like, oh yeah, what's up? We'd love to work with you. So just that confidence and being chill on yourself, no one likes to get rejected, if you will, but that's not how you should look at it. It should be just the course. And I will say that, like, I have had a big year with that. And, yeah, we're very much so getting confident in what we do and realizing, dude, there's a lot of space to move out here. There's so much work, bro. Like, God forbid it all came to me. I couldn't, there's a lot of work out here. So that's helped me too, just believing in what we do.
Okay. Speaking about the truth that you said earlier, it could be the truth that they don't want you. Could be whatever. What do you think others think is your biggest weakness?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't want to say like, oh, I don't think about what people think. I think more about what my clients think than what other people in my industry think.
So let's switch it. What do you think is your biggest weakness?
It's what we're working on. It's strategic operations, just the full sequence of events. How does it happen? What happens if it doesn't happen? The streamline. Just that's why my team hates the word streamline. because it has become the most important thing. And so I had to look at some relationships. There was like a handful of clients that were just really not great relationships. So I looked at them. There was two common denominators. One, there was blood on the wall, inherent wrongdoing from the client. Now, that's usually what you focus on first because it's not our fault. But I eventually got to the second part. Well, why does it keep happening though? It's like letting your child end up in the spot where the bad thing happens. So I have put up these barricades. And this morning, I made a joke in our team meeting about how CYA, we had covered our ass from something that had happened that wasn't our fault, but got put in our face. And I have definitely weeded out the clients, not even the clients. I've weeded out the type of relationships that I don't want to pursue. I have, unfortunately, maybe every filmmaker and creative has dealt with this. I just feel like it's me. But I have experienced an absurd number of people who are so eager to use marketing services, but they don't know what to do with it during the process, the creative development and the revisions and just how to comprehend and work with professionals in our industry. And then the back end. They don't know what to do with it in the back end. And then occasionally people want to point fingers and it's like, buying tires and getting mad that you didn't win the race with them, which is crazy. So, but I've realized that those people exist. So what I've done is I've acknowledged, yes, as a team, we can say that this was wrong. What are we going to do about it? How are we going to make sure that professionally we prevent that from happening, even though we didn't do it?
Is it a little more hand holding of the client?
Oh yeah. It's a pain in my ass. Like my project managers, they're hand holding. And there is no, let's give them a little more, let's give them a couple more weeks. Nah, dude, it's 3 business days and you're gonna get a follow-up, and then it's 3 business days and you get a phone call and probably an email after that saying, hey, if we don't hear from you within the next few days, your thing's getting archived, you're getting an additional delay fee. Like, we never issued a fee in 10 years. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I was such a chicken. People always would, once you send the invoice, then they call. Then they, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my dog ate an orangutan and I had to save it, and I called my chicken, but I've got your money now.
Yeah.
And then I would just run with that. And I had a project this year, and it was really exciting, and I was so fired up, and it was a big deal and a big brand, and I put everything into it. I put my community into it. And it was the most cataclysmic, just to this day. It's just on the last thread of seeping out of my life. And I'm so proud because let me think about how to say this professionally. We stood our ground immediately and said that this will not continue. If you sign this contract, X, Y, and Z has to happen. And these communication issues have to stop because we haven't even signed our paperwork yet. And they continued to create problems, and we charged a 20% fee of a very large project on the top as a penalty. And they didn't even apologize for what had led to it. They just wired the money.
Oh, well, that's good.
It was good, but it was almost like, it's like the big companies that pollute to make a better profit so that they can make an extra $10 million, knowing that the $2 million fine from the EPA, that's nothing. It's what it felt like. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, we'll do whatever we want because we'll just pay the fee. But it was really eye-opening to me that no one pays 20% extra for a fee that they think that they don't, owe. So that was an eye-opener that they were like, well, we know. And now that you've, kind of like said what your contract stated is required, here's your money. And so that applied to the shooting process. I had to have a really big meeting where I told the client in person in front of both teams that it was the most inappropriate behavior I'd ever witnessed on a production site, and that as awkward and maybe unprofessional as this meeting as a group is, we are going to either have this conversation now or the production's at risk. Lots of money, lots of people traveling. We are having this conversation. And if you don't like me having this conversation, then come prepared next time, because I don't care where you're from. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how big your logo is. We don't treat people poorly. We respect people's time, and we do what we say we're going to do. And attitude shifted.
Yeah.
May not have liked me, And so yeah, man, I stood my ground, and I stand by that. This is the year of we are gonna do things that make sense, or we're just not gonna do them. You know.
Yeah, there is a little bit of, I'll say, it's nice when you can pull yourself out of the company and you talk to your clients with just a different verbiage. So instead of saying, like we need to get paid more, it's the production needs this level of budget,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't sound like it helps because you're like, it's not me versus you, it's we are both heading towards this production, and so that has to be agreed upon.
Yeah.
So your scope reflects this budget. Does that need to change? We can talk about it changing. But once you start saying I, you, people start getting the personalities
Yeah.
checked, and it starts getting emotional.
Yeah.
And
So I use words like
our,
we, the team. I worked for ADT Security, and it was like a sub branch, like an authorized retailer. And I worked for a guy named Darnell, and there was like 5 people that would work 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday in this little tiny room off of Aurora, and you would make cold calls, and people love to be called from 5 to 9 p.m. during the week.
Right.
So I make a call, I get someone, and you would transfer them to Darnell. And so I'm like, I got my first one. I'm like so excited. I'm like, all right, hold on. I'm gonna go get my my security specialist, Darnell. And I run in there. He comes back. He gets it. He seals the deal. We're done. I go to do. I'm like, high five. He's like, where'd you mess up? I was like, we just got the deal. He's like, where'd you mess up? He's like, you could have lost it. I was like, I don't know. He's like, you said, let me go get my security specialist, Darnell. Do you know what that looks like? That looks like you walking across this busted old building on Aurora Road in Melbourne when you say, hold on one second, ma'am. Let me transfer you to my security specialist, Darnell. I think I had said manager the first time. He's like, the point is they see this big glass building in Orlando with all these people. And that stuck with me forever because perception is everything. And it's not about perceiving things that are wrong or making people perceive it wrong. But no, you need to be careful about how you carry yourself, because I sounds almost like personalized and emotional. We and our is speaking on behalf of a greater body of people. And so I will give you guys a tip, and I've used this for years. I had a meeting. I pitched a very fair price for a restaurant package, and the one owner was in, and the second owner was like, I don't know. I think it's too much. And I was already charging like less than I should. And I came up with this line, and it worked very well, and I used it today. I said, man, I appreciate that, but just like your business, I have operational numbers. This is the bare minimum of safety where I can guarantee you a fantastic product. I start chopping less than this. I start running into how am I going to pay people? How am I going to afford to do this correctly? And then you're getting a problematic product. And anybody would pay a little bit more to get their food done right, their haircut right, whatever. So since that meeting, I have used that many times. And you don't use it in a position of leverage. You use it in a position of honesty where you say, look, I want your product to work. Us going any cheaper, that's a threat to the product. And that has helped me a lot.
First of all, shout out Darnell. That
Yeah.
was a good learning lesson.
Yeah.
I use very similar but different language. I say, in order to secure the highest chance of success, we need to meet these things, whether it's budget or the amount of crew members. And then once you start saying we're risking our chance of success right now,
Yeah.
that speaks to a client in the sense of, I know you don't know if this extra $1,000 is really gonna make a difference, but now I'm telling you the entire project is at stake for $1,000. Is that worth it?
And that's a scary sounding sentence to a client when it gets their attention sometimes.
Right.
Like, oh, whoa. So that project I was telling you about that was having all those hurdles, I mean, it had every single one in the book. It had paperwork issues where things were getting signed in time. It had money wiring issues where we were closing in on shooting with no money. We were forced to hire talent without the money or lose the talent because we were closing in. And then we were having to solve the problems while I was on site of ESPN of a very important job. And I'm having to, so dude, it broke. And that trip where I was at ESPN on the phone, that was where they got that 20%. And I warned them the week before. I said, if this goes into this weekend, this is what's going to happen. And then they did it. And so,
and to be fair, you are giving them the opportunity to make the decision they want. You're not just saying, we passed this deadline, here's a bill. We all want to get to this end goal together. Yeah. So I'm going to give you another chance to say, this is our final amount of decision-making time before we see consequences. I've heard another guy on Instagram say, we are approaching the time where we are going to either get deadline issues or budget issues. Yes. Just want to give a heads up. And that is saying, I'm looking out for you. This is unnecessary money you need to spend. Yeah. This is unnecessary delays you need to experience. And I'm on your team. We are on your team.
It's great to hear you say that because that's literally where we are, man. That's the stuff we're working on. And it's coming out of a place of respect, man. It really is. It's watching for the client. And so we had to archive some footage from a client. Let's say we filmed for them, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago at this point, maybe 6. We turned the edit around, I think, in 24 hours or something crazy. Like, we wanted it done. Gave them the 3 days, no response. We followed up. Then we approved their video, and then eventually they responded, and they liked it, and they approved it, and that was great. And then we wanted to make sure they downloaded their video. We've had this this situation where they think that our links are just eternal cloud storage. And so we have added to our contract an additional line item that says that. But what I've realized, and this is what happened in a different project, a client got so livid that their stuff got archived and deleted. And they're like, well, why don't you keep it internally? And I explained it very professionally. I said, Dalton, put yourself in his position. Yeah. And let's talk to him politely. I was like, man, I have to tell you how super devastated I am for you because this is terrible. You guys pay for that video, but I was like, I need you to hear me from my perspective. Imagine you're in my position, right? We create data all day long. That's all we do. Your project was in the neighborhood of like 1.5 terabytes raw. Your finished product, since they were like 30-minute testimonials, we were sitting on 100, 200 gigabytes just of your exports. So I was like, no offense, but because of the type of business it was, we knew we were never going to use it again, except for you guys. And so when we're done, we're done. And I read him his contract, and he was just really bummed out because he messed up. And he even said, he's like, man, I messed up so. And I was like, I'll even give you a 50% discount on a reshoot if you want to do that, which is a huge thing. We don't owe that. But I said, for the sake of you understanding that, and so what I did tell him is that I'm going to go back to the drawing board and figure out some stuff about how to prevent this. So every time we archive, we go in 14 business days before and we warn you. And you've been warned before this. You've been warned when your project was done. But when we're like, it's time, we email you and we give you 14 business days. And it's a huge recommendation. Everything that you guys do, put it on an email. Make sure you have that paper trail, because now that situation I was referencing, there was no paper trail. Now the contract covered us. On paper, he messed up, but still the client was mad at us, even though he messed up. But had he had an email 2 weeks earlier saying, hey, just letting you know one more time. And you know what it reminded me of? The dentist.
Right.
How many text messages?
Too many.
Those dude. But think about it. That makes sure you're there. Yeah. Or at least you call or something. So yeah, that was my big growth recently, was like, it doesn't make sense that we're doing extra work, but look at what we can prevent.
It's a really nice courtesy. I've had that courtesy text before where I was like, oh, that is tomorrow. I wasn't planning on being disrespectful and missing it on purpose. I just mix things up.
We try to do it with our crew too. Not even because you guys don't know what you're doing, but we're busy people. So I've even tried to make it to where, like, our project manager, especially for bigger stuff, like, if you're going to like a 2-day event or something, just check in just to make sure.
Yesterday I texted you, we're still doing the podcast tomorrow, just to be like,
yeah,
okay, good.
Yep. And it's cool because I am enjoying this learning curve right now. I really am. And it's exciting to get better at organizing and leading this thing and cleaning it up. And so we talked about that during your podcast, kind of like my dissatisfaction with doing less creative, but I've got a good balance now. In the morning, I'm trying to do a little bit of fitness. It's very hard for me to do it later. And then I'm trying to edit for at least 1 hour on a passion project, which is usually a vlog of me and my family. And I always say at the end of the day, and I never do it. And and the thing is it's like the client gun to your head is always more scary than the personal project gun to your head. So I'm like, maybe if I do a personal project window in the morning, I'll at least chip at it, and then I'll probably bleed my eyes out and do my client work. So yeah, setting those boundaries and finding that balance has helped a lot.
It definitely helps. It doesn't prevent the problems from still happening, especially when it's on my side. I've probably learned the same lesson so many times where I'm like, I already learned this lesson a couple of years ago. Like, I'm still making the same mistake. Case in point, when I did my documentary a couple of years ago, I had all of the footage from months, and I dropped the hard drive, balancing my cup of water and my hard drive on my laptop, going to the bedroom. Water started going this way, so I flipped it this way. Hard drive fell off, and the recovery was $2,000.
You called me.
Yeah, I was like, what services do you know to
Because I
repair this?
had a situation and I gave you some advice and it was not that helpful.
The problem is the drive was 4 terabytes. It wasn't like a 256 SD card.
Yeah.
So I sent that in. I got my project back, which is great. It went on to go to a couple of festivals. Completely worth it. Completely avoidable. And then last month, I did the exact same thing. I did the exact same thing. And I just got the email on the way here. They said your recovered media is ready to get shipped back to you.
How much?
We appreciate the $2,100 bill again. They're like, we see you did this in 2018. I'm like, yeah, that was me. That was me. So I see you have a stack of SanDisk SSDs behind you.
Yeah.
So now I'm moving to SSD, which is, I know everybody did that in 2008, but like I'm just picking up on it now, and it feels so much more secure.
It is. So we actually, for our weddings...
Yeah, I dropped one of those spinning hard drives.
Oh, yeah. For our weddings, we include these.
Okay.
Because, tip of the day, if you sell any kind of physical product, you owe tax for your entire package to the IRS.
Okay.
So to all you wedding photographers out there, if you're doing prints, your entire $4,000 package can be taxed. Just know that. So you might want to invoice separately for your physical products or something, because if you provide a service and it's got physical product distribution that the client paid for, that's the key, then you can be taxed. Well, ours are free. We just, you know what I mean? You build it into the rate and then it's free. So what I do is I've got like NPI 2024 number 2. I've got one for a client, Avcon. I've got my vlogs. I've got 2022 number 1 and 2, and then 23 number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So in my safe, I have a sister drive for every single one of these. Green means that it's the main drive. Pink means that it's the sister drive. Just easier on the eyes. So the method is 2023 number 1 is obviously going to be the beginning of the year through 4 terabytes of the year.
Yep.
And then number 2 is going to be more or less the stuff that I think I'll need less. So all of the photos, all of the completed videos, and all of the main projects are going to be on here. The stuff like a big expo or something I might not touch, but you never know. I keep everything goes on my number 2 and 3 drives. So I will do usually 2 4 terabytes, maybe 3 4 terabytes a year. Now times 2. So
right.
If I have, 2023 number 1 and 2, I've actually got 4 of them.
I had a client who I was filming them do the setup process, like loading in all the piping and drape, the staging for a conference. And they said, this is a big one for us because we're doing 2 back-to-back conferences. So we're loading in, setting up everything, breaking everything down, and resetting up for the next conference, breaking everything down. We need coverage of all this. And it's great. It was like 12 days. I had all these GoPro time lapses going. I'd jump in a little bit in the morning of every day. It took a long time. It was very effort and time intensive. And the main thing was they're like, we want all of this archival footage and we would like a finished deliverable. So I sent them the drive, which it had the edited video and all of the raw footage, and they paid. It was about like 12 grand. So, kind of in our business, a lot of times if you don't get an answer back, that means everything's good. For me,
Yeah.
especially as a
Yeah.
freelancer.
And
Maybe for you, when you have a relationship with the client, there's a little bit more.
no, but I have plenty of new ones too that I don't know what's happening. And like
Right.
that falls into the category of unless it's a no, it's
Yeah.
not a no.
Right. So then 3 months later, I get an email that says, "Hey, I don't know if you remember us. We did a big project with you." I'm like, "Yeah, of course, I remember." They go, "Okay, well, we lost the hard drive, and we didn't back it up. Do you by chance have it?" And I was like, "I do actually on one of my spinning hard drives."
Dude.
And I gave it, I charged them an archival fee, which is very arbitrary because I had the data regardless.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, archival fee. Here's the fee for the new drive I'll send you, and I'll ship it out to you. I will save your entire effort because I just did a backup. That blew my mind because a lot of times when you deal with professional companies, you're like, oh, they're like the big guys. Sometimes someone just forgets to log the mail coming in, or did we back that up?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just slips through the cracks, and this was a big slip.
Yeah.
A $12,000 slip that could have turned into nothing. They got all their stuff back.
That's legendary. They got it back. We had it happen recently, and we didn't have it, and it was different than the other one I just told you about. So yeah, that's why like we went through recently, like after those couple situations, like just like everything you could think of from like money issues to coming in, it just all of it, right? And then that other really bad shoot, dude. I had situations where I had talent come to me with complaints about their interactions with the client. I had vendors that I had hired for the production, having frustrations because the client was an hour late to stuff. Like, dude, it was everything you could deal with. And so after that project, we sat down as a group. We said, okay, what is everything going wrong? Our fault, their fault, gray area. How do we fix it? Where do we patch it? And it was legendary because we have next to no issues right now. We are very glad to solve issues. And if people don't play ball, that's cool. That just means they go in that department of we don't really, want to service that kind of work anymore.
Yeah, you don't have the ability for you to say, that's not my problem. It's like, it's going to affect how this situation is going to go. So I might as well try to help fix it, even though it's not my fault.
We're meeting in the middle now, opposed to just getting completely shafted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always down to play ball and meet in the middle. I'm holding people accountable, but I'm not gonna bang them over the head. But there's levels to this stuff, right? You fall into that category where you are just knowingly making issues. We're gonna do it by the book. But anybody else, man? I've learned that a lot of people get and respect that things cost money.
Right.
I've had a client that I've had to charge $100 for a re-edit or whatever, and there's no thought about it. They get it, and it's kind of the opposite. They're like, of course I would pay you for that service. You know what I mean? I feel like it's us as escaping that I've got to prove myself, and I've got to build myself, and I've got to find the people that think I'm worth that much. You know what I mean? I don't even know if there's a timeline to it, but it is hard to escape those thoughts and methods that you use to build your business later, where go to your bank and don't pay them. There is no negotiating. They're going to hit you with a fee. And so I think respecting yourself the same way that, you would an establishment that you shop at is what you need to do,
Yeah. People expect that quality costs money. That is not an incomprehensible idea.
Yeah.
If it's quality, of course it would cost money. That's why we get so excited when you can find quality for cheap, because you're like, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is great. So yes, people understand quality is valued and is financially compensated. One thing that you were talking about earlier was that fear of either implementing higher rates or fees. You said you didn't implement any fees for a while. It's nice when the lesson can be taught for you. So by that, I mean, I am now, I have one client where I'm bringing in contractors. Normally I'm the contractor for other companies. And that contractor is now complaining to me the way I would complain to you of like, I want to get paid this, I wanted the travel day, I want to get per diem. So now I get a taste of my own medicine coming my way. But the good part of that is they don't have nearly as much attachment to this client as I do, right? And so they will ask for things that are standard, like I was just mentioning, that I would be like, no, I don't need to charge for that. I'm okay just going over that. But once you start getting other people who are like, no, I
Yeah.
need this and I need that, so their demands now fall on me, and I say, well, I do need them, and if these are their stipulations, I have to bring this to the client. And then when I bring it to the client goes, okay, and I'll go, man, I was way too scared to do that. And I didn't
I've
even
been
do
there.
it out of my own volition. I did it because I was about to lose my contractors. And it's right what they're asking for.
Yeah.
They were asking for travel day and mileage and per diem. Normally I was like, well, we're just kind of like wrapping all that up into a travel day. And they're like,
Yeah.
that's not exactly how it goes. And that's not how I charge when I have my other freelance clients that I go towards.
Yeah.
But when it's your client, you're so much easier to, no, I'll just eat that real quick because we're getting to the end goal. But it's nice when that lesson can get taught to you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've experienced that because you deal with a lot of contractors.
Yeah. And, I've done this for so long. I've been distributing work and having to, oversee how people are being paid and treated and stuff for a very long time. And so I've come to think I'm good at it in my own way and enjoy it in my own way. And it comes with its pros, it comes with its cons. And I've definitely been there. And what I would say is there's value on both ends. You learned and you're like, man, I'm bringing people in and I wasn't paying myself that. And I go ask and then there it is. And I've been there and that's great. And it can be a pivotal moment. And I think things happen when they should, right? So maybe that'll apply to you through that conversation and that's great. But on the flip side, to these people that you are hiring, not that they're not being flexible, my recommendation would be to pay attention to where David is. Pay attention to the fact that he is leading and bringing these opportunities to you. And there's something there. You know what I mean? There's something there with the origin of that relationship. There was some kind of give. There was some kind of take. That flexibility has to be present in a relationship. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it takes. It's just like a real relationship, right? There are going to be things that arise, not are just someone did something, things are going to arise. And your flexibility in those moments, that is the cement on that relationship. That doesn't mean don't go charge and do those things. ESPN has been great. We're having some awesome conversations about some opportunities and some other things. And the last thing I'm considered about is the whipped cream and extra on top. You know what I mean? I want to talk about how do we get, I always say this, aim small, miss small. Had a meeting of this. Did you see the Lamborghinis on my story in Vero?
What happened?
So I went down to Vero. I get a call. This guy's a builder, and he works with one of my clients. Loved a video I did, and politely said, that project that you did the video for, not a bad way, but that was a small project. I would never film that. But your video was like, and I was like, well, thank you. And he's like, I've got a big project. Can you come down to Vero and look at this house? And it's not that I don't go to meetings, but I don't have to go to client-based meetings too often to go look at something. I was like, okay. So I pull up, multi-million-dollar oceanfront home in Vero, like 5 minutes south of the inlet. And we go into the house and traditional mansion until you go to the living room where there is a Lamborghini sitting in the living room next to like a boho style bar and I can't even explain it, dude. It's got to be like a 30-foot wide TV. Okay. Not projector, TV.
What color was the Lambo?
Which Lambo? So we go downstairs, right? There are 3 Lamborghinis in the garage, all different crazy color. And there's a scissor lift that is lifted. And it's up in the living room. And the 4th Lamborghini gets hoisted from the garage and sits in the living room. Insane. So talking to this guy, big project, big money. But he said...
so it's like a centerpiece in the living room?
Yes. It's so he can literally look at his Lamborghini. He can sit in his Lamborghini and watch his dude. The TV's the size of a movie theater. It's insane. So, anyways, I said to him what I always say to everybody. It was, I'm sure you hear this a lot. Yeah, this project is whatever, but I'm working with a small marketing budget, whatever. And I said, what do you want, and what are your restraints? What is the ceiling on what you've got to know something, right? So tell me what you think you want. Aim small, miss small. I say that all the time, and I say I'm a relationship guy. I'm not trying to one night stand. I need to make a relationship. I need you to make your money and do this again and again and again and again. So what does that mean? Does that mean I'm going to give you a $10,000 project for $1,000? No. But if your budget's $1,500, let's budget a package around that. Let's not sell you some $5,000 package for you to not get a return and not hire me. So anyways, most people would come into a project like that and be like, give me the money. Cool house, awesome project. Where do we start? That's the way I look at it.
Is that progressing?
Yeah, I sent the proposal out this morning. Oh, he emailed me back. I eyeballed it, but I think he said he's going to look at it with his business partner. And last tip, 3-tiered packages have been very successful for me. Very successful. The middle package, that's the one I was going to send you. Mm-hmm. The lower one, that's the one that I like. It's not that I don't want to do, but it's kind of like more or less the minimum that I would jump into this project for. Mm-hmm. And then the upper is what I'd be like, this would be great if we get that.
Now, there is some strategy with that. Give me your coffee cup. So this is middle package. So we'll go to the wide on this one. This is a big package, middle, small. So very traditional to say this is the least amount of money that I will come here for. This would be all the bells and whistles, whipped cream, as you say, and then this is still a great, viable end product. There is a lot of psychology of where this middle project lands in relation to the small and large. My buddy likes to push it right here to get them over there.
Yeah.
The popcorn at the movie theater is $7 for a medium, $8 for a large.
Yep.
But either way, it's one of these two, right? If he really wants them to get this one, he will just load that one up and make them feel like we don't even want that.
Yeah.
That is not, we're making the good choice. We want this.
Yeah.
We want them to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
happy about what they chose. Not, we got to settle for the middle because we really don't have the budget for this one.
So I do the same thing in the package this morning. The low end was what he asked for. Mm-hmm. Very simplistic. He wanted a single video. And I was like, okay, well, we need to get you a short form as well. And then you should probably get your raw assets and be able to utilize those for your own short form, make quick little Instagram stories, whatever. Here's you go. And I was like, that's the minimum. I call it one in the chamber. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You shoot one shot, you miss. He could go make some extra short form, but that's why I always recommend if I do like almost any business, you should get at least a few pieces of short form to assist your longer form. So, and I really encourage to cap my people at ideally 60 seconds, but 90 seconds for their long form. So the middle package, he wanted an FPV shot, and I've got to go hire this guy, and he's not cheap, and he's gangster, and he has to fly over the $100,000 vehicle. So that package is a significant price jump from the lower to the middle, but it is a very inclusive package. It comes with a bunch of shit that's not in the lower one. It goes from like his length gets a little bit longer on his full form. Not that he'll need it, but it's there if he wants it, and that value is there. Then he's going to get some extra short forms, and then this is a new one that I'm including. Not everybody has this in their pocket, but I did a video for Island Root Kava Bar recently, and it was kind of like a concept. I was like, we shot this, we shot that, we shot the recipe video. Let's try something real quick. JD, mic me up with the Osmo. Let's do a one-take walk through the store. Let me just walk through. All right, guys, welcome to Island Root. This place is so dope. We got this, we got that. And while I'm talking, we're just cutting to some other shots. But I did one lap. We did it in one take. It's like 60 seconds long. Dude, that video banged. So we did another one for another business. That one blew up too. So I mentioned it to this guy, and I more or less included it for free and put one in there. And he was really excited about that. So I encourage people, like my top tier one, look for ways to add value for your client that don't take tons of labor or actual revenue to hire people for. Mm-hmm. So a big one for me, We call it a 4K B-roll package, and it's a cut down version of your best footage, color graded with no music, no transitions. And I will even half speed some of my 60 frame per second shots, because imagine a person that really does not have a ton of capability. Like at best, they're going to take this thing to CapCut or even just cut one little clip out of it. So I'll go through and take a multi-hour shoot, get the best of each clip. And if there's 30 of the same shot, I'll forget that. Get the best one or two.
Right.
And then they get that. And again, it is valuable, but we can do those in an hour.
And the effort is
2 hours?
just minimally more than not doing it.
Exactly.
But you can charge for it, or you can not charge for it, make them feel like they're getting a better value.
It's not just a visual value. It's not just like on paper. It's a full
It's a
additional
functional-
deliverable.
yes.
And they're usually 5 minutes long, which feels good. It's like, look at all the stuff we got.
Well, and this is what I like about being freelancer, production company owner, is people hit you with ideas, or you get these random texts from a prospective client. It's just things are always popping up and dropping and getting thrown to the side, and it keeps you engaged. I am not an employee mindset person. I've had very, very minimal stints where I had a paycheck that was based on hourly, and it was so bad. I underperformed for them, for me, and I was just like, I'm not this. The ability to be on your own affords you this mirror that you're like, I'm not doing much, and not much is coming in, or I'm doing a lot and a lot is coming in, or a mix and match of the two. I need a problem solved because I'm doing a lot and not much is coming in. I like that so much more, because it keeps me aware. It keeps me open. Someone comes at me with a project. That's a good project. That's not a good project.
Yeah.
Let me just send it over to someone else who might be a good
See,
fit
you
for.
make it fun. You've got such a good balance with it. Because, like, not to say that you don't have your own problems and mental wars, but, like, I have had anxiety and overthinking issues my whole life. So that stuff, I'm there now. But for years, I overanalyzed it and didn't make it fun. You know, I made it a problem when I didn't get picked. And so I love that that's where you're at. And, like, dude, you've been a huge push for me to be more openly collaborative. Not that I didn't like working with people, but getting burned a handful of times when you're already a guy that's been burned in other places, you're just like, okay, F everybody but my small circle. And that works, but it really prevents you from a lot. So it's been cool to see your success. I remember when you did your documentary. I think I've told you the story too. Like, you came over, and I don't know if you watched something of mine before or after, but I think we were watching something. You like gave me some feedback. I was like, I did not ask for feedback. And then we watch yours, and you're like, I'm like, dude, that was so sick. You're like, break it apart, dude.
Rip
Chew on this thing, please. And that was a long time ago. That was 2019. 18?
Yeah.
So, you know, and you've always been that guy. And it's been cool just because I didn't realize how much my non-production creative life and way of thinking was like playing a role in my production thinking, and like bad juju sometimes, you know? So yeah, be balanced, you know, be sharp, pay attention. Don't let everybody in your life or circle, but man, share your stuff, ask those questions, let your peers review your stuff, and take it with a grain of salt. And even just like going to that meetup with you and talking with all those guys and getting to just mix within all these professionals that are so talented. And the ESPN thing, man, like the job is cool, but the guys that work there, bro, just picking their brains and knowing the places they've been, they're some of the best in the industry. And they're very feedback oriented, you know? And I love that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The way I kind of pull out from getting personally attacked is this is data. So if you didn't understand what I was trying to convey in that video, that's very valuable data. If the person who sat next to you did, that's equally as valuable. So I know I'm at a 50% comprehension rate.
Yeah.
Right. That's not, David, you sucked at telling the storyline. This is just data. And when I had it in one of my vlogs where I went to a boxing class, and I was showing me getting some good hits, me getting hit, and I just said, this is great data. Like, I will learn from this.
Yeah. And like everything we've talked about this morning of all the changes I'm making and all these big, dude, I feel like nothing bad, but dude, we have flipped the MPI Productions house like entirely. And I feel like invigorated. It's not that we're just working hard like we did a year ago. Things are different right now. And I feel different. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel very much so intentional. That's how I describe it. I feel like we, for the first time ever, have been very honest about where our flaws are. Where can we knowingly get better? And dude, let's bite the bullet. Let's get those couple trouble problems trouble projects, and let's take them on the head. Let's figure it out. And man, that was great. And so doing that, it's kind of like the really filthy garage that you've got to walk by every day, and then you just do it, and it sucks. And then after, you're just like, this is awesome.
Now you got momentum.
Yes, and we do have momentum right now, and it feels great, man. And it's funny because, like, when you got momentum, it distracts you from the thinking that you shouldn't have, the overthinking.
Totally.
So right now, I'm very, set on the goal, and we got a lot of goals.
Well, speaking about being honest, transparent, I sent out to my YouTube community, my filmmaker chats on Instagram. I said, what do you want to ask someone who is in this position? So it's a benefit to them because they are going to be able to have or to hear an authentic discussion. And there's a couple of them. So we'll kind of like rapid fire these. This guy says, Art Carrasco, this is from YouTube, my YouTube channel. He says, I want to create combat sports documentaries and have just started working towards that with filming little interviews and doing reels for fighters. What would be a next step from that to short film festivals? Is there even a next step from that?
For sure. Like, that's a giant world of just expansive opportunity. And it really falls down to relationships. And so it sounds like he's already got the initial phase started. So the best things that I have going for me, Ron Johns, let's just list that, 10-year relationship. We go to El Salvador, Nicaragua, and do all these things, and people are like, whoa, how did that happen? Well, it started with just this teeny little relationship where we did one photo, and then we started to do a couple of videos, and then we met the other athletes, and then we started pitching. Hey, what if we went here? Hey, what if we did this? So prior to that, maybe you just do your own. You know what I mean? Maybe you make your own, like you did. Your very first mini doc was self-funded, self-put together. And I feel like in that space, it's easy to say, man, how do I get there? Because it's like the position doesn't exist. And that's the point. I think maybe you just make that friction, make tons of short form, work with all those athletes. And I would gravitate towards the guys that, like, maybe if you've made a connection with, like if there's a fighter or two that you really connect with. So at ESPN, there's like 2 fighters. And one of them like was talking about high risk for something. And it's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? So that is what keeps me going. And so I'd say just making those relationships. And then like we talked about today, making these funky little packages. Dude, just put one together. Throw like a cool little package together, low, medium, high, and make it to where it makes so much sense they can't say no, if that makes sense. That's what I'm doing with my city series. I'm going to be calling a lot of businesses that do not know who I am. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but I don't like answering the phone and someone's like, hey, do you want to be a part of my thing? But we're making it such a value for such a low impact. They're like, let's just go for it. Mm-hmm. I'm getting the same positive response from people that do not know us as I am from people that know us. Ooh. Which is making me personally feel really excited, like we're doing something good. So do it, man. Put a project together, and then come up with your first short. Pull it together, and then submit it to any of the local ones you can. David did 2 or 3 in Florida.
I got 6
in Florida alone.
I got 5 in Florida, and then a random one in France that had an online premiere, I think.
And I know you put your time in, you had some thought, but I know that you started, I know this for a fact, you started with no long-term plan because you didn't even know you were making a damn documentary. You were making a reel. So that first roll of the momentum, I would ask yourself, who do I like in this space? What kind of a project am I inspired by? And what could I make right now with what I got?
I totally agree. Find someone that you already vibe with, because you said you're working with other fighters, multiple fighters. So find the one who is the most vulnerable, because that is going to be the key to whether it's going to be a good project or not. And don't hit them with this we're going to get film festivals. We're going to be, no. Just say, can I film your next mid session? Can I film your next hard sparring?
Something light.
Can I get some thoughts from you afterwards? Take 2 minutes, just put a little microphone on you.
That's a good idea.
And start building to the point where they trust you. Then tell them, I know you got some fights coming up, or you're trying to go to a new promotion. And then what I've been told by other people is put value in their perspective.
Yeah.
Then they think this could be important if we shared it.
Yep.
This is not just about me getting a camera on me at all times, which some people like, because they're like, I feel like I've been working and I need to be recognized, and this documentary guy is going to film me. That's great. But also, there's a lot of people who probably want to be in your situation that don't really know what it's like. What is it like fighting at this level? Can you pay your bills? All of that stuff. Dude,
you could make some incredible content in a very short period of time with an hour before a fight, before a training session. Pick their brain, get those questions, and even just sparking the interest of a fighter via some short form. Make a cool little I don't want to say a mini series, but like a short form 30-second series where you're using an athlete to go through those questions, and pitching that to someone. You never know who's going to say yes. You really don't. And I have made some conversations with some people that I'm just like, man, I would not have even have asked that guy if he didn't approach me and start the conversation.
And you said give them a project that they can't say no to.
And I wanted to circle back to that, because I don't mean give yourself away for free, but for me, when like that question, I'm here, how do I get there? I don't know about y'all, but like that's a place of somewhere that I am passionate about and want to be. It sounds like that's something that personally excites him. Dude, I will take all the risk in the world. I'll take a little bit of money. I don't care if it's that forward movement. So like, no, don't make your pitch, I'm so cheap and affordable, you can't say no, but make that part of your play.
Yeah.
And I liked what you said. I have used this to my advantage many times. You don't go to these individuals, these athletes, or these businesses with this premise of I need you. You have the world to give me. You say, look, man, I've got this edge. I've got this thing to give to you. You are on a path, and I think I know how to help you get there in a different way.
and it really helps, I feel like, when you are transparent about what you want, so they don't feel like they're being scammed. So you say, my end goal would be for me to be a filmmaker in this space. I'm just looking for the right people to team up with who are willing to let me in. So you tell them, like, because if you say, I'm trying to give you all the value in the world, they go, well, obviously you're trying to get something out of this. So let me tell you, it's so I can get better. It's so I can get a bigger network, whatever. But the value part, I know there's different thoughts on doing things for free, doing things for low rate, whatever. In my opinion, as someone who did a free passion project documentary, you're focusing on forward momentum. Getting someone to pay for it would have been a bottleneck that I don't even know if I would have been able to get past it. It would have been a huge hurdle because, one, fighters usually do not have a lot of money when starting out. So I'll just do this for free.
It probably would have prevented you from making it at all.
It wouldn't have come out.
And I know for a fact your life has transitioned. And I would go as far as saying that your whole YouTube journey probably wouldn't even have, at least not the way it did, not at the timing it did. I'm a big believer of the butterfly effect. And I believe that like you doing that was a career transition, probably one of the biggest.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I've told you that, but when I like condense a description of you, I always focus on that doc as like the shift.
It was great. I did, like I said, 5 festivals in Florida. We went to St. Pete, Melbourne, Florida. The most fun one was Key West.
Dude, I was so bummed I couldn't go to that. I was out of town, and even though I couldn't be, I can't tell you how proud I am that you did that. And I remember telling Madison, just like, very cool when your best friends are in the same space. And it's just cool, man. I remember us. I look at my Snapchat memories every day, and I look at these old videos of us, 2015, 16, 17. Right. And seeing you at like a film festival is very cool.
Very cool. because I don't have the 30-foot screen in my living room yet, like your clients.
like our
So
boy down south.
going to a real, like I live in downtown Orlando. I went to the CMX Theater, which is 2 blocks away from me in downtown, walked there, went past the whatever Jurassic World was showing at the time, went past that poster, and then walked into my theater.
That is the coolest thing I've ever
It
seen.
was so fun. It was so fun. So art, I would say, find one of the fighters that you jive with. Just get the forward momentum, whether that's no pay or low pay, and don't hit him with everything all at once. Just start small and build.
And what I told a fighter at ESPN, yet to formulate into anything, but I have his number. We communicate. I straight up said, and this was the truth. You can't lie. I said, yo, I am new to this, and I'm insanely impressed with you guys. I love what you're doing. I watch all your fights, even if it's just for a quick training session. Mm-hmm. Y'all ever need any content when you're at a fight, hit me up. I'll pull up before your session, whatever. Just that. And then I walked off. And then the next fight, they said hi again. Then they said hi again. Then they texted me. So in a year from now, we'll probably say, oh, yeah, that's what started it.
And you can't come at them in the beginning with, let's do big things together. They're like, whoa, dude, we don't.
And we haven't done anything yet. So when I see them next, I don't want to be like, hey, are we doing the thing? Mm-hmm. Just planted the seed and we'll wait.
So I know I said rapid fire, so let's go a little more
little rapider.
This is Tony Rican from Dallas, which he helped me set up the Dallas filmmaker meetup along with my buddy Jared. He found the venue for it. We had about 35 people come out. Super cool. Congregation, thinking, all that stuff. So he asks, what does retirement look like for you?
Retirement would be watching videos from my company, feeling the excitement I feel when I make them. Knowing that my team is executing it their way, with their touch, their flair, but with the NPI style. Many people create work now for me that I watch and I'm like, that's NPI, but I know that you made it or you made it or you made it. So that across the board. And just truly being able to go on a vacation with my family for a week, for a month, for however long I want, and have the business. It's the telltale thing. Leave and let the business scale, not just run, but scale. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of moving components to that. You can't scale without new business coming in. So I now have my first sales team coming together. We've got people working for some commission and base pay to go bring in new clients. Working great so far. And so social media, have to have social media management. We got a lot of content we create. I'm working on that. We've got 4 different pages. Project management. Who's overseeing it? Where are the problems at? Got that pretty dialed now. Creative crew, got a great team. So we're checking all the boxes. And so for me, it's to continue to scale the revenue. That's the next thing. To where can I continue to take the portion I want while still paying people what they deserve?
So your retirement is still an active ownership, but much more distance.
Yeah, I want to come in when I'm excited.
Okay.
When I see something that I'm like, okay, give me the camera. I'm coming to this one. But I do not want there to be a single situation. So like example, Kai is 10 months right now. Hard to put a date on this, but I would say by the time that she's like, I don't know, 7, 8, I would love to have a good grip to where like damn near anything I don't have to be at, which I'm pretty much there now with like shooting and editing. And the big thing is shooting, having people trained to go to ESPN, that is one of my proudest things in the world, and you fall on that. And I think it's very cool that I've got people that I can trust to do that. That's my proudest moment, and I got people there that are doing it for me and crushing it. So I want to do it in the next 5 to 10 years.
So do you ever consider like a full hard retirement? You're not doing anything.
I don't know if my brain will allow that, but I would say let's see how well I can get the business figured out. Because here's the thing. The people that shoot and edit for me and project manage, they can't do it without my leadership. They can't do it without that blueprint, that recipe book. And so the recipe book has been purchased. The pages are being written. And so lots of things are happening now. I'm seeing orders come in for voiceovers that I wasn't even a role in. And then I'm seeing the revisions happening. And I'm not even like, whoa. I was like, that was our client. Oh, okay, cool. And so that's the point. I don't want to be involved. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's because if I have to be there to solve the problem, we have a big problem. So that's what I'm trying to fix. And every time we hit those moments, I'm like, hey guys, let's bookmark this. We don't want you to be hindered by something that I have to be involved with that I don't have to be involved with. So, again, someone offers me $10 million for MPI Productions one day, like maybe. But
can I do weekly check-ins? Just
yeah,
I'll take the money
and people love NPI, right? They do. But I genuinely believe it's the energy, it's the people. And I say the people because it's not about me. It's about the entire team. People have come to love you, Tristan, JD, Gavin, Xavier, all these faces and people. And it's not just about the content, not with my brand. It is very much so a personable brand. So, I don't know if I'd ever sell that or what it would look like. But if I did, it would be a moment where I'm like, this could change the lives of me and everyone that I know, my team included. But I don't really, it's not that I don't see that on the books, but it's not where my focus is. My focus is because I only want a certain number, and it's not crazy. It's under $500,000 by a long shot. And I want enough to be able to pay all my bills, get as many coffees as I want, whenever I want them.
Yeah.
And, eat wherever I want, whenever I want with my wife. I don't ever want to think about it because food is a stressful thing for us. And we don't care. We do not care. I'll never say no to food. I don't care what's at home. If it will give us a better evening together with less stress, we're doing it. But I don't go out and buy new shoes. I don't dude, I just bought this shirt the other day and I got it because I got the employee discount 50% off. I would have never bought this from me. So I should maybe buy myself more stuff. But again, where's my value? It's with freedom in my time. That is where my value is. So I don't care if I have to work into my 40s or 50s at all if it's like fun work. Now, even right now, I'm doing 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then sneaking in text messages and emails on the weekend and potentially shooting or going to ESPN. But Monday through Friday, I'm working all day, and that's still too much. But right now's work is critical. It's like I'm writing the commandments. It's very important work I'm doing right now. This is the stuff that's going to get us there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I didn't believe it, but probably a year or two ago, I was like, dude, are we getting anywhere? It's like, are we actually getting anywhere?
A tough moment is when you're in a flow, and then you go, this is great, and then you go, wait, do I do this for the next 20 years? And you're like, oh, okay, no, I got to do this and work towards something else.
Yeah. And that was a big question. I was like, dude, because I wasn't getting burnt out, but I was like, I was like, how do I do this forever?
Forever.
And so I have found a training program to find the right kind of people and I don't know who they are either. It's not like I'm picky. I'm finding these imaginative roles that I don't know when I need them. So Amelia, she just started working for us. She applied to be an intern for the back end of her college degree. She's about to graduate. And I was like, absolutely. Loved her portfolio. She'd done a lot of cool stuff. And quickly, I realized how well she knew the brand. She lives in Brevard County. She's been following us. She actually paid and went to my Surf the Lagoon program at Disney. Right. So she knows me. She knows the brand. She knows surfing. She knows NPI Productions. She became my sales girl. She's crushing it. And now it's like just freaking dumping a whole bunch of seeds and just waiting for a sprout. And I'm like, that one. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing. So I've got JD running full time. He is literally my right-hand man. He's my lead shooter, my lead production. He's basically a co-director because I'll send him to shoots with my vision with people that are like, I'll shoot it for you, but I don't know if I know how you want it. So JD single-handedly knows what I want as much as anybody. And then now I've got Trevor, and he is officially, got the stamp of approval, the Adobe certification as an NPI shooter and an NPI editor. Now there's a couple subcategories studio product shit or weddings we're training him. But if I'm just yo, Trevor, I need you to pull up to the business and shoot and make an edit, he can do that. So now we've got 2 shooters and editors on payroll. And so, yeah, these things all coming together are what it's going to take. It's going to take a group of people that believe in the vision, that can market, bring in new work, manage the new work, schedule it, get the, you know what I mean? Like the whole effing thing. And it's insane, but we've blindly been working on it for years. And now that I'm trying, I'm like, okay, this is what's left. And when this is done, that's just like the foundation of the new business. You know what I mean? Then the real work begins.
Yeah. I think my retirement would be spearfishing in Puerto Rico. Just walking back to the house.
Like skipping all the long bullshit, if I could just go make vlogs and focus on like the invasive Florida series all day, bro. I don't give a shit, dude. If we're making a ton of money and everyone's paid, screw a sponsor for the invasive Florida series. I'll fund it. That's my passion. That's the point, though. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want to do. That ain't to get paid. Like I want to host my stuff. So yeah, it would be going to the Keys, going to Puerto Rico, snowboarding in the mountains, just doing what I do intermittently right now because I'm so busy.
But because you want to.
But because I want to and do it all the time.
Okay, so this is from Jared, who's also from Dallas. He said, "How much of your success is ability versus connections?"
40-60.
Has it always been like that?
That might be generous, like kind of, shitting on myself, but I'm good. But it's like, what do you define as good? You know what I mean? As far as abilities go, right? Do I know guys that can do like super effed up masking and crazy music video stuff that I don't do? Sure. But do I know guys that can do that stuff that can't tell a story like I can? All day. So recently I did a music video and I asked JD if I should go back in. He's like, it looks like your video right now and it looks awesome and I love it. Run it. And he just was reminding me that you can't check all 1,000 boxes of styles and you know what I mean? So it's been a big thing for me for realizing that the maneuvering, the meeting people, it's been everything.
I think for me it would probably even be more. It'd probably be 30% ability, 70% connections, because there's so many good shooters out there.
Yeah.
And if that's what I'm specializing in, I'm not doing the edits, I'm not doing all this other stuff. When you scroll through Instagram, you're like, man, there's some talented people.
It's kind of disheartening sometimes.
A little bit, because you're like, I'm way off.
And it makes you feel like you're supposed to be good at all of it. And you don't have to be. There's nothing wrong with getting inspired and trying all this stuff. But I've really accepted, man. Like, dude, I look back at some of my basic videos. I love them, man. They scream Dalton and MPI, and people love them in their own way. And so, yeah, just really, I don't know, owning my style and not trying to force it to be more, Yeah. But the connections, dude, ESPN, we talked about this. I'm telling the story in a short here soon. Facebook.
Hold on. That is the next question.
Oh, is it?
How did you get a foot in the door with these types of clients? And we are wrapping up.
Yeah, so it was crazy, man. It was Facebook. I've built a really cool community, more or less on accident, doing lives, getting involved with the community, telling my story, being inspirational, just, being an involved social media guy in the county.
Sharing yourself.
Yeah, and I would say sharing myself in a very vulnerable way, sharing my relationships, my anxiety, my depression, mental health, my past, all kinds of stuff. And so I have become a hub for local information, a lot of fun stuff. People believe that I inspire them, which is very cool. And so through that, people have connected some insane dots that I'm just like, this is nuts. And one of them is ESPN, producer there. 2017 was when I went and chased hurricanes. She saw it, lived in Brevard County at some point, so that's how she found it, remembered and followed me 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, calls us in 2023.
No business connection between those times.
Never spoken.
Yeah.
Never spoken. So what the math was for her is years go by, they run into a problem with the camera, asking the jib guy to run it, doesn't work, asking someone else to run it, doesn't work, and then eventually they're like, what are we going to do with this camera? And then my contact, she told me how it went down. She actually thought about it for a few months, and she was like, they're going to say no because he has no broadcast experience. They're going to say no. And then they were really, which kind of is funny. I was like the bottom of the barrel.
Right. Last choice.
Last choice. But more or less under the concept that you shouldn't just waltz in there, which is fair. And so she went to somebody and was like, hey, there's this dude on Facebook. He works with these cameras. He hangs out of helicopters. He goes underwater with a housing. He rides on a one wheel on moat walls. And so in the skill department, I would say that, yeah, man, like, you know, we are good, not the best, but good at some more or less just sketchy shit. I wouldn't even say it's stuff that people can't do. It's stuff that people are like, I don't want to do that. And so, yeah, the ESPN thing blew my mind because when we arrived at the first fight, I don't think there was a lot of excitement.
For you to be there.
Yeah. And I didn't know that at the time, but that camera was a nightmare leading up to that point. It hadn't worked. It had frustrated people. The box was just getting drug around the country, and the director hated it. So it came from Facebook, man, which is a build off of the previous question, which is do the math right there. ESPN is the biggest opportunity we've ever had. It's leading into being a great financial opportunity if this keeps going for years. And it did not come from my skills. I mean, technically she saw my skills, but think about how gray area that is. She saw me making vlogs and chasing my chickens in a storm and chasing a hurricane and of course posting some cool client work, but she just had this little thing planted in her head, and that's the catch, is we stuck with her.
So what I see from that is you made yourself visible.
Yes.
So there are a ton of people who are extremely talented, but no one is aware of them. You don't see them frequently, and it is, I feel like, a time where you are able to broadcast yourself, which might seem a little egotistical. I definitely feel it sometimes when I do my vlogs and I'm talking about me. But once you start to see the results where other people are sometimes they're looking for someone like you.
Yeah.
And they can't find it. And just because you kept broadcasting yourself out, they go, that guy will work. Let's give him a chance.
You literally had a job like that where they were looking for a camera op for a certain kind of camera or something, and then your video popped up, and yeah, so it's just making yourself visible and available. And if you're like, oh, I can't post today because it's not perfect or it didn't get enough likes, dude, if you do that shit forever, you're never gonna get it figured out. And for me, it's that tunnel vision, that early tunnel vision I had where all I had ahead of me was opportunity. I was young. I was getting out of some bad situations, and truly all I had in front of me was open road, you know? So it was the excitement of, oh, there's another opportunity. Let's go that way. Oh, that one didn't work out. Let's go that way. And I think if you have that kind of fun edge to it and you just go and you don't get offended by no, and you don't get scared to post whatever you created, and you post every day and you find that balance. I'm not saying it's easy. And there's people that maybe like, I'm not personable and social like that. You don't have to put your face on it. Just find that way to get you and what you create in the world, and just keep going, man. It sounds
in a transparent way, because the more transparent you are, the more people see that, and then they can trust the viewer connection that they have with you. Whereas if you are showing yourself every day and it looks fake, you're not attracting anybody to stick around, because they go, this doesn't even feel, he's faking it. Like,
yeah.
But if they know that you are being vulnerable, you are sharing your ups and your downs, they can ride that journey with you. And then once you get that core audience, then you can start building, expanding. That's obviously what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel, is have it grow through authenticity.
Yeah, and authenticity is not necessarily going to go full combustion all at once. And that's why, even for many of the things I do to this day, my success and numbers elsewhere don't mean anything about my new efforts. And that's why I don't try to focus on them. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to have fun with it. I'm going to just pursue it. So yeah, overanalyzing is probably my biggest victim, you know, like just stalling and just I don't even want to say over planning, but just just keep doing stuff, man. And it's helped me tremendously. My boy Adam J came through, did his podcast. It was like the first or second one. While he was here, he gave me some massive advice for social media. He's like, dude, take the emotional side out, post that thing twice, repurpose it. He's like, just stop caring so deeply about. He's like, you're making up your own thoughts for other people. He's like, I'm telling you right now, you post this and you post a week later, new people are going to see it. No one's going to be like, man, this Dalton guy posted the same. He's like, people don't care. And that really tore a bridge down in me in a good way, or a wall, as far as social media. So since he came through, I have been a lot less thinky about my social media, and I've had great results, and it's helped.
Yeah, and even if you do get that negative feedback, which is high chance you will, if you know you're not faking it, then you're like, okay, that's fine, because I know what I'm saying is my truth, or my actual perspective. So if you don't agree with it, that's fine, but it actually is true for me.
And those are not your people,
Right.
And if you got one, find one a day, keep doing that. You're gonna have this little tribe, and it's pretty cool when you find a group of people that root for everything you do.
So to wrap up, let's go outside. Do you have a surf trip that you would like to go on?
Yeah, man, I want to go to Bocas del Toro with you guys.
That's Dominican Republic, or is that Panama?
Panama.
Okay.
Yeah, Caribbean side of Panama. I would be thrilled not to get on that stupid puddle jumper plane again, but it was the coolest trip. It's on the Caribbean side. It's actually an island, a chain of islands. And when you're there, it's multiple vibes. You feel like you're in the Bahamas, in the downtown center. Very Nassau vibes. Lots of cool colors and buildings. When you are on the boat going between the islands, which are like a football field apart, you feel like you're in Indonesia.
Yeah, it looked like that, the stuff you posted.
Yeah, which I've never been to Indo, but it felt like that. And then we ran like an hour and a half to a peninsula, because we're not far off the coast. And the mangroves, ocean-based mangroves that we went through, I was in Florida.
Yeah.
It was I was like, what is happening? And then we get to, it's called Kusapin, and it's a native inhabited peninsula, which you basically can't access from the land because it's so thick and uninhabited. I was in Jurassic Park. It was Costa. Oh my God, bro. So, and then the waves were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the whole time, man, there was this bar, bro. I'm gonna take you. It's a pirate-based bar, and there's a guy with a real peg leg that owns it. And yeah, man, it feels like a surf trip.
Yeah,
Not that like Nicaragua or anything hasn't, but man, it feels like where a surfer would go to just basically live out the rest of his days.
Like adventure, and you're like, we definitely could get into a bad situation because this is so not touristy.
Yeah, and it's very small island, and there's like 3 or 4 islands, and it's got. I always love the traveler vibe.
Yeah.
When you go to Nicaragua and stuff, you always see these people just passing through, And I just feel that people are just so open to conversation and meeting people when you're in Central America. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's just the like traveler vibe. And so, dude, you go to these bars and you just meet people from around the world, and everybody's pretty cool, and waves are insane. And then, dude, like the wildlife, bro, they had just the most beautiful like birds and monkeys, and so I was in heaven, bro.
I love that, like tropical Caribbean, good waves, snorkelable. Just
Yeah.
that's what's dangerous, because I go there and I go, I could
Do I leave?
stay here.
I could see. Are you gonna move to Puerto Rico?
Like I said before, I would love the idea, I think, of going to Puerto Rico and figuring out how to spearfish and just go snorkeling and be in the jungle and be next to the water. But part of me does feel like, okay, but after 8 months of that, and you're going to say, I just need to like jump to a different experience for a little bit so that I can come back to this one and then come back. So I don't know. It's tough when you have our kind of like restless brains.
You should buy a condo down there eventually, and
I've looked.
Airbnb that thing out. Get some local management.
Yeah, and I have buddies there who have told me The house across from me is for sale in Mayagüez, so close to Rincon, close to Aguadilla. He's like, if you buy this, I will be your manager.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'll throw down.
gosh. So to get the support of the locals, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the white dude who's buying up everything.
Yeah.
But they know that you and I have gone there year after year after year because we love the place and we respect the place. And so if you can get in with some of the Puerto Ricans who are like, yeah, I think it'd be a cool idea if you did that.
Yeah.
That would be the cherry on top to be like, okay, this could work. So it could very easily happen. There's usually one day a month where I'm on Zillow or Clasificados online and I'm looking at Puerto Rican properties. Oh my gosh, this, if I actually move this money around, this could actually work.
That's awesome.
And then I could go there for kind of like the passive retirement that you were saying.
Yeah.
If I could go to Puerto Rico for 3 months out of the year, 4 months, and jump back here to check up on things, to build this part of my life, and then go right back.
Yeah. And it's totally possible. And I believe in the early retirement for the sake of like actually enjoying your life while you're still young.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super important to actively retire, but not be the person burning your money. Very, very fine lines here, And I always joke that like life is a contradicting thing. You know what I mean? Like, look at a relationship. You are supposed to be the guy that hustles and does and the biggest, baddest. But then you got to be the family man to be home. So you got to find that balance. And I believe if you retire early and practice, you can kind of find. And it's not easy for everybody because not everybody has a business. You know what I mean? So when you work for another business, it is what it is. You gotta ask yourself, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? If you want this, if you want that financial and that time-oriented freedom, recognize that time-oriented freedom is almost like a sick joke because the lack of time freedom I have a lot of times where it's dedicated to the hustle, it exists. I just get to place it where I want it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But ask yourself what you want, and you can do that, and it's all about sacrifices. People love to look at the product and not understand the process. And I encourage people to dig deep and ask themselves what they want. Just because you're at a job for 25 years doesn't mean it has to be your forever job. And I constantly reference the a scale, and your entire job, your 9 to 5 is down here. And I don't want to say your dream, but whatever, your side hustle, whatever it is up here. Dude, don't just jump off. Put a little over, put a little over. Take your work down to where you're working, 60 hours a week to 40 to 30 to 20, whatever. And don't just accept what you're doing and keep working, keep evolving. And
I do strongly believe you will have a further outcome if you have multiple pillars that you can, like you said before, you can water the seeds over here, and that one's growing really well, but now it's going to become winter, and that one's going to die down a little bit. So good thing I have these others. You don't want to be spread too far, too thin.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to do with YouTube. I definitely want to release some digital products that are of value to the person who buys it, that financially help me and allow me to do these things of like, Puerto Rico from December to February. Yep. That sounds like a good time. And then I need to go back and I need to water this. I don't know if the hard retirement thing is even real anymore, of just being like, I'm out, I'm done. And even if it is, you might not want that.
You might not want that, and it depends on the person. And I've always hated, in our space particularly, people have constantly vocalized against the jack of all trades or the master of none, and I just have hated that because, sure, put a ton of time into one thing, you become excellent at it. But if we're out fishing on the ocean and we got one rod out, we ain't gonna catch shit compared to if we can have 2 boats and 30 rods out and have a sail up and some different bait, some different size hooks, some different water depths. So for me, what am I gonna lose by something not succeeding when I'm cooking 20, 30 of this? So if I throw 50 fishing lines out and 10 of them get fish, I don't really care about the 30 that didn't get fish. Mm-hmm. I got fish right here, So that's why I have never been deterred to learning more. So
and now you know what works. Bring those other 25 rods back in. those aren't doing
Put them
anything.
on that side
Yeah,
now.
or put that bait on.
Yeah,
or whatever.
man. And that's why you can't be. And I love how you said pillars, because I've always described MPI in recent years as becoming sectioned, right? And we are absolutely focusing on, a tourism section, a wedding section, a small business section, a entertainment and event section. And so now we're having a really cool section where the city highlight series and the invasive series, they fall into the MPI section because we are the client. And the businesses are participating sponsors, if you will. They are participants in our series, which is very cool and very unique for us because, as you can imagine, running through 20 shoots and 20 revision processes for 20 businesses and 20 buildings, oh my gosh, it would take us forever, versus singular project, singular approach. And every business has one opportunity to suggest things, but it is explicitly stated that this is our project and our creative vision. And as long as we don't, disrespect their services or something they want displayed a certain way, we're in control.
And this is a huge journey, even though I always feel like I'm at the beginning of it, even though we're 10 years deep. You do have to acknowledge that, but it still feels like there's so many ways this can go, and I need to fine tune that. But the podcast is called Trust the Process, and I don't have it figured out. You don't have it figured out, but we have more data now to work with and more clarity on where we want it to go.
We know what we want now more than ever.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by feeling that I'm intentionally targeting goals. Like we're intentionally growing and getting better. When you work hard, you will grow. But it's like now I'm like, no, our biceps need some work. Let's work on that muscle group.
Yep.
That's how I feel about the business.
So hopefully you guys got some value from seeing two young-ish becoming old people who are in the business, and they're just incrementally trying to move forward, stumbling along the way. I won't be in the next episode. I don't know who you're going to get. My vote is for Tristan.
Oh, I love that.
And then, Dalton, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit subscribe. Big love, Dave. I really appreciate you being here. If anybody deserved the double feature, it was you. So y'all go check out Mr. Morefield, all of his adventures. We'll see you next time.